turn back the clock and see what Elise Stefanik said about Donald Trump 9 years ago, in 2015, when she was the youngest member of Congress, the pride of her community, local girl made good, to Harvard University and all the way to the United States Congress.
We need to ensure that we're increasing our party's ability to reach out to women. And I work on that in Congress. I care passionately about that. And Donald Trump's comments have not helped that effort. They've hurt that effort.
I want you to notice two things about Elise Stefanik. Not just the change in position, not just the evidence of body snatching, soul snatching, but the change in her demeanor, her tone, her voice, her accent, her affectation is completely different. And this typifies, examples, in perfect synchronicity, our national journey. It's like the frog in the pot who doesn't know the water temperature is rising because it does so incrementally. It is Monday, May 20th. 169 days remain until the United States presidential election. This is the warning, and America is in crisis this Monday morning. This Monday sees a number of political stories converging that together tell the tale of a great unraveling of American democracy, of decency, respect, of decorum. The American people do not send children to Congress. It's why there is an age limit in the Constitution of 25 years old. It used to be that 25 was an age where a functional adult could go sit in a body of citizens elected and selected from around the country to do the nation's business. The job of Congress is a job of service, and specifically public service. Members of Congress, by definition, are servants, public servants. They are supposed to serve the public trust. Every member of Congress swears an oath to the United States Constitution. The United States Constitution is what binds our country together. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. That's the preamble of the Constitution of the United States. And it is under assault from its politicians who swore an oath to defend it. When airplanes crash, they do so for two reasons, really. The first is pilot error, and the second is catastrophic failure, a compounding series of events that build upon one another until disaster. There's a lot of redundancy in the systems on an airplane. So if one system fails, catastrophe is not at hand. The plane is built so it is endangered only when all of the systems fail. And that's what we're witnessing in American life. The United States of America can survive a corrupt Supreme Court, like the Roberts Court, with Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas. The American people can survive a corrupt Congress. The American people can survive a corrupt presidency. But can the country survive a corrupt presidency, a corrupt Congress, and a corrupt Supreme Court all at the same time? And the answer to that question, of course, is they cannot. The United States of America is the most complex society on earth, and it needs capable people involved in public service. It needs good people, decent people, smart people, adults, human beings capable of understanding that life is hard and complex, and that different people see the world differently, but that we are united in a common cause, and that cause is Americanism. We are American citizens. Now, this is very important to grasp. There have only ever been 700 million Americans. which means half of all Americans who have ever lived are alive right now, which means the overwhelming majority of Americans haven't gotten to see a figure like Teddy Roosevelt or Franklin Roosevelt. They live in the age of Trump, and they live in the age of Marco Rubio, and they live in the age of Elise Stefanik. There is no person this side of Lindsey Graham who is a more titanic fraud than Elise Stefanik, with the possible exceptions of Josh Hawley of Stanford University and Ted Cruz of Princeton and Harvard University. Harvard's Elise Stefanik is just as vile, just as unhinged as the pro-Hamas protesters in Harvard Yard, celebrating the murder of Jews. Elise Stefanik was a different person not so long ago. I'm going to deliver this morning a case study in hypocrisy, in hollowness, in sociopathy. We're going to examine Elise Stefanik then and now. Back in 2015, when Donald Trump was rising and surging into the lead as the Republican frontrunner, Elise Stefanik was appalled, as she rightly should have been. Back then, Elise Stefanik sounded a lot different than she does today. And I'm not just talking about the words. I'm talking about her demeanor, her affectation, her tone. I'm going to show you in the next few minutes a split personality. I'm going to show you in a series of before and after videos something extraordinary. I am going to show you political hypocrisy and absolute fraudulence at an epic level. The most important thing to understand before I do is that Elise Stefanik is as profoundly amoral and unfit to hold a national office, as is Samuel Alito, as is Marjorie Taylor Greene, as is Donald Trump. These people are a grave danger to you, to your family, to your community, to your country. Occasionally, journalism is actually practiced on Fox News. Never in prime time, usually not during the week, but sometimes on the weekend. And it happened this weekend when Elise Stefanik was asked this question. Now, before I show it to you, remember, in politics, as in life, there are no bad questions, only bad answers.
Your name is continually thrown out as being on the short list potentially, that this trip may be part of an audition. The New York Times had a lengthy piece where they talk about your transformation, they say, from somebody who was not supportive of President Trump to somebody who is full-throatedly supportive of him. They say you called him a whack job at one point, and they add this. In August 2015, she told a New York radio station that he was insulting to women and that his candidacy would hurt the party's efforts to attract female voters. According to her former friends, they continue, she thought Mr. Trump was too awful and ridiculous to be taken seriously. Her revisionism still shocks those who have known her the longest and who remember the disdain she expressed for Mr. Trump back then. So the question is when, more importantly, why did you change your mind about President Trump?
Before watching what Elise Stefanik says now, let's go back, turn back the clock, and see what Elise Stefanik said about Donald Trump 9 years ago, in 2015, when she was the youngest member of Congress, the pride of her community, local girl made good to Harvard University and all the way to the United States Congress. I want you to notice two things about Elise Stefanik. Not just the change in position, not just the evidence of body snatching, soul snatching, but the change in her demeanor, her tone, her voice, her accent, her affectation is completely different. And this typifies examples in perfect synchronicity our national journey. It's like the frog in the pot who doesn't know the water temperature is rising because it does so incrementally. Let's see Elise Stefanik answer a question from 2015 and listen to her words.
You're a woman, you're a congresswoman, and Trump has been, by many people's allegations, insulting to women. Where are you on this one?
I agree with that. I think he has been insulting to women. I think that his comments about Megyn Kelly, who is, actually went to law school in Albany, so she's very familiar with upstate New York. I was deeply concerned about those comments, and we are a long way out from the Iowa caucus and the New Hampshire primary. I think this may be Mr. Trump's peak moment, and I think we're going to see his numbers change, and decline over the coming weeks and months as the other candidates have an opportunity to share their vision for the future of this country. But I think it's really important for Republicans, if you look at the 2012 election, we need to ensure that we're increasing our party's ability to reach out to women. And I work on that in Congress. I care passionately about that. And Donald Trump's comments have not helped that effort. They've hurt that effort.
Are you ready to hear the transformation? Let's listen in 2024 to the answer that Vice Presidential aspirant Elise Stefanik delivered.
Well, Shannon, it's a disgrace that you would quote the New York Times with nameless, faceless,
but they're quoting your
sources.
Friends, so I'm giving you a chance to respond to
that. Shannon, they're not quoting my friends. Those names are not included because they are false smears. I was attacked.
To be fair, there are a number of names of people. Just to be fair, there are a number of names of people who are quoted in the article.
Shannon, let me correct you.
People can read it for themselves.
This is a false smear, and let me tell you a fact, Shannon. In 2016, I was attacked as the only elected Republican from the Northeast who voted for President Trump. Democrats spent hundreds of thousands of dollars attacking me for that fact. So to say that I didn't support him is just false. I have been proud to be one of the strongest supporters, going back to when he ran for 2016, which was when it was my first re-election to the House. I have strongly supported him. He is going to be the next president of the United States. The American people know that. My constituents know that. And I'm proud to be one of his strongest allies in Congress. I have always put my district first, New York 21 first, and America first. And this is an opportunity for us to stop the failures of Joe Biden and elect a president who led to a booming economy, a strong national security. But my record speaks for itself, Shannon.
But let me ask you.
My record stands for itself.
Let me ask you, though, because they quote you on a radio station calling him insulting to women. Is that a misquote? Did you not say that?
I said the statement that the Democrats leaked out in 2016, that was insulting. However, Shannon, I stood by and supported him, and I strongly support him. And he has done so much to promote women in senior positions, as well as promote women's economic opportunity that we experienced under the 4 years of his administration. So I've been proud to support him. It's a disgrace that you would take a New York Times article and just read negative quotes when the reality was I was the only Republican elected woman from the Northeast who voted for him in 2016, who has strongly supported him, and I'm proud to be one of his strongest allies today.
Okay, we know where you are today. Folks can go read that article for themselves. There are plenty of names, people who went on the record, and we'll leave it there. Clearly, you are supportive of him now, and we will track and follow where you are on the campaign trail.
I was supportive of him then, Shannon, in 2016, as you know, so I hope you will tell the viewers that as well, which I voted for him in 2016 and was attacked for doing so.
Congresswoman, we always appreciate your time. Safe travels.
I have a serious question about Elise Stefanik. Obviously, she is completely unfit and should never hold a position of national responsibility because obviously she lacks the temperament. Can you imagine if you had to go into work every morning and Elise Stefanik was your colleague after hearing that? Can you imagine if Elise Stefanik was your boss, your neighbor, your congressperson? Can you imagine just having a conversation with her? The nastiness, the stridency, the bombast, the grievance, the dogmatism. Listen to the change in the voice between this person.
We need to ensure that we're increasing our party's ability to reach out to women.
And this person.
There are a number of names of people. Just to be fair, there are a number of names of people who are quoted in the article.
Can you hear it? It is incredible, but it is not singular. This was a weekend of unraveling. The story of a United States Supreme Court flying his flag upside down, inverting it, to demonstrate common cause and affinity with the insurrectionists who carried the Confederate flag through the United States Capitol, defecating on the floors of the United States Senate, defecating on the floors of the United States House of Representatives, pissing in the hallways, beating police officers with American flags turned into bludgeons, calling black police officers the N-word while beating them. When Samuel Alito was called out for his travesty, his disgrace, he blamed his wife. He didn't acknowledge that he did it. He didn't condemn the symbol. He did not disavow the insurrection. The man who leaked the Dobbs decision to the Wall Street Journal through his friend Leonard Leo has compromised utterly the legitimacy of the United States Supreme Court on the eve of its rulings on whether the President of the United States, i.e. Trump, has the authority to assassinate you and me and your local news anchor. We saw the unraveling in a House Government Oversight Committee. Apparently, according to Jamie Raskin, one of America's most exceptional members of Congress, most of the Republicans on the committee took the train up to New York and got bombed in the bar car on the way back, which is why this incident transpired. Let's watch Marjorie Taylor Greene at work.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr. Chairman,
That's beneath
would
even
you
you,
please
Green.
regain
That's
the
beneath
order
even
of your
you.
committee?
Order.
Birds of a feather, they flock together. Let's watch the AOC response.
I would like to move to take down Ms. Greene's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you attack the physical appearance of another person?
Are your feelings hurt?
Her words down.
Aw.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh, really?
Don't even play.
Baby girl? I don't think
we are gonna move.
Time out. Does anybody have an awareness in the room that there are two major wars underway in the world? That one of those wars in Europe, the Russians have already sustained over 500,000 casualties. Is there any sensibility that the Iranian theocracy is 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon, should they choose to build one? Is there any awareness around the regional war in the Middle East that's being waged from Iran to Lebanon, Syria, from Yemen, Gaza, against Israel, against the United States, against democracy, against Jews, by an apocalyptic theocratic leadership that is pledged to exterminate Israel? How is it that such unserious people have accumulated into such great positions of power? There was another example of the unraveling. In an extraordinary exchange between Kristen Welker and Marco Rubio. What Marco Rubio is doing here is gaslighting. The Democratic Party did not incite, did not commit, did not become apologists for, and does not celebrate an insurrection or the insurrectionists. Marco Rubio is correct that the Democrats who voted saying that they wouldn't certify George W. Bush's election in 2004 were deeply wrong. But the reason they were wrong to do that is because in the end, those acts have given a type of perverse moral cover to the idiocy that Marco Rubio is spouting. Because all of those votes were meaningless. All of those, the election wasn't real, were simply pandering to the extremists on the Democratic base. It was inappropriate, but it did not threaten the foundations of America's society. I'm going to show you what threatens the foundations of America's society, and it is this from Marco Rubio.
Will you accept the election results of 2024 no matter what happens, Senator?
No matter what happens? No, if it's an unfair election, I think it's going to be contested by either side.
Senator, no matter who wins.
I think you're asking the wrong person. The Democrats are the ones that have opposed every Republican victory since 2000. Every single one. It's Hillary Clinton.
No Democrat has refused to concede. Hillary Clinton conceded. Senator, will you accept the election results?
Hillary Clinton said the election was stolen from her and that Trump was illegitimate. Kamala Harris agreed.
Senator,
we have Democrats now.
Senator, she conceded the election.
She said that Trump was illegitimate. She said that the election had been stolen. Kamala Harris agreed. By the way, there are Democrats serving in Congress today who in 2004 voted not to certify the Ohio electors because they said those machines have been tampered with. And you have Democrats now saying they won't certify 2024 because Trump is an insurrectionist and ineligible to hold office. So you need to ask them. I think have you ever asked a Democrat this question on your show? I bet you've never asked a Democrat that question.
And here's the main point. The election is in 169 days. Set your clock. Because 169 days from now, a great crisis will erupt. One of two things will happen that night. Donald Trump will be elected president of the United States, and there will be chaos. Or Donald Trump will lose the election and he will refuse to concede the election, and there will be chaos and there will be violence. And we will be on the first day of the greatest constitutional crisis since the American Civil War in 1860. It is 169 days away. This is your warning. 169 days out from a disaster that even the most blind amongst us should be able to see coming by now. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning, and I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.